Welcome to this edition of the Tech Talk. We're going to, as it says here, breaking down the traits, right? Kind of help determine, what's best for your operation, your customer's operation. So, Tyler Price will be helping do this. He'll be doing majority of the presentation. Tyler's our newer LSA from the Huron, South Dakota area, covering kind of the western frontier, South Dakota down to Nebraska a bit, and then further west into Wyoming at times as well. So. Tyler's been a great addition to our LSA team here, and is going to help share some knowledge here through this slide deck as well. So here's just kind of a little bit of what we're going to go over here today. So as you see, traits and trait providers on here, not much going on here, right? Not busy at all. Just kidding. There's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of different traits. I should count them. I should have a number in my head as far as how many it is. But kind of what we're trying to do here is paint the picture of all the traits that are available to us and to you, customers and growers out there, dealers alike, that through the industry. Okay, so and if you kind of look here, we kind of broke it into segments. So if you look at the very top part there, you have the VT4, Triceptus, Smart Stacks, all of that. That's through Bayer, right? Then if you look at the next line here of Corteva, you have Corteva, the Power Core, Corteva and MS Technologies here with AcreMax, Chrome, Vorseed, MS Tech side and list, GT27s. Down below there, you have Syngenta with all the products there, whether it's the new Durastack, Duracade, the Vipteras, the Agrishers, right? All that stuff, right? The key point here is that there's three primary trait providers, right? So Corteva, Bayer, Syngenta. And we're going to break this into further detail as we go here this morning. But that's the key there to remember. There's three main trait providers. Behind that, there's a whole group of genetic suppliers that utilize these traits on their germplasm. And we'll kind of get into that in a little more detail as we go through here too this morning. But the thing to remember is these are the trait providers. Behind that, there's a whole group of genetic providers that bolt on those traits onto their genetics. So the thing that we got to remember is when we see double throw or we see a Smart Stacks or we see an Agrisure product, that does not mean that it necessarily comes from these companies as the genetics. There's a whole, like I said, a whole other group there. So again, we'll dive into that here. We got more slides here that'll kind of paint this picture a little bit clearer, but this is just kind of to illustrate all the things that are available to us that we look at to kind of fit the puzzle. And as we talked about as part of the title there, as far as how to make the right selection or determining what's best for your operation or your acre, these are all the things that go into that discussion of finding, the parts of the puzzle. Okay, we have matching the right genetics. Now, what's the right trait that we need to fit that operation as well? So again, going through here a little bit. So again, our agronomy team, we work with 12 genetic suppliers to bring us into dispense. So we work as an LSA team within Legend. That's kind of the power of being an independent company. We try and kind of to break that down. We get input from the field, right? If anybody that's on here, it's an LAM or LSA, but then our dealers, we want all the information we can from the field. And I think that's one of the key things that differentiates Legend Seeds amongst other independents that I know. Not saying that any of them are bad, but I know a few of them and how they do things, but then also the nationals. It's a little more sometimes of this is what we think is right for you. Now this is what you have to sell, right? Not maybe getting the input from the field all the time. Now, when we get that input, I know there might be somebody out there saying, well, Russ, I told you we needed this, or, we've been saying for years we need this. Sometimes it's just not there, right? Or it's not the right product too. So, we got to be diligent in that regard as far as finding the things that are there and not there. But that's the key thing as we, as a team, get to bring all of them in. And what we're looking for, like it says down there, number one is always going to be yield. We got to have yield. There's a bean supplier that we work with, a great guy, been in the industry a long time, and when I walk plots, the first thing I always go is, what's the number one thing I look for? Yield. What's the number two thing I look for, Steve? He goes, yield. Then I look for and make sure it's got the defense and agronomics that we need to make sure that it checks the boxes there. So yield still is king. We got to have yield that's foremost, right in front. We got to make sure we have that. We got to have bushels on the tape. We got to have that yield driving factor behind all the genetics that we pick. From there, it's all the other things, right? To make sure that it's a well-rounded product. Phenotype, we look a lot at that as far as does it have the look? Does it, whether it's cold, does it have it? We look to it, does it look like a nice, is it structure-wise, is it good stock, good leaf structure to it? Is it trashy looking? Is it corn? Is it year line level? Is it consistent? We don't want a lot of bounce. Same with beans, right? We want, is it upright? Is it bushy? Does it lodge, fall over, like all those things? The phenotype kind of tells you a lot when you start looking at the stuff, especially when we're looking at 2-row strip plots with, there might be, we get into a plot for a day with all the genetic variants, there might be 1,000 different genetic lines there, right? You can start picking these things apart. So phenotype becomes important. Below it, standability and harvestability, right? Nobody wants to go on a complaint call. Things are going to happen. Mother Nature is going to impact things where we're going to have an issue here. We're dealing, like I said, we're dealing with Mother Nature and plants and things are going to happen. But we've got to do everything we can to do to avoid that complaint call. But yet we can't give up. Sometimes when we could go to a spot where, okay, standability, harvestability, all that stuff, like never going to fall over. Yep, but it doesn't have the yield, right? So we've got to get all that stuff within balance. But we want to make sure that the agronomics are there. And then usually when standability and harvestability, that means that ties into all the other agronomics, right? Disease package, does it have enough defense, to match with what it has for offense to make sure that we can get it to harvest, right? So all those things kind of come into the factor there. And there, a lot of us have been doing this long enough now where we start to recognize certain genetic lines. Okay, oh, that male or that female's on here. We know that brings this, that brings that, right? So then it makes us feel comfortable with some of this stuff. So, third thing there, then we again traits. What traits are available on these products? When we start going through and we're looking at the yield, we look at the phenotype, we look at the standability and harvestability. Okay, what trait packages are available on this product? Are they the traits that are going to help us get this product placed and into the marketplace? Is it above ground? Does it have below ground traits? Is it conventional? Where does it fit for us? And then not lastly, but last on the list here, test plots, right? Prove it on our own side. Look at it, get a look at it on our own, and make sure that these are tested. If you've seen our plots with experimentals in them, we're looking at all this stuff to make sure, okay, now basically what we're trying to break it, right? We want to make sure we can bring it in here, and does it hold up under our scrutiny, under our placement? Do we find out anything about it that, maybe wasn't told to us, where it goes or doesn't go and that kind of stuff. So we try and find out, or we want to learn as much as we can. We got to be fast when we bring products in, but we also got to learn and find all this stuff out before we bring it to you. So we know if there's a watch out, what that is and where to best place it. So again, just real quick, these are the things that we look for, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And we take all this stuff, very, very important. Now, yield, like I said, is king, but like all this stuff here is comes into play pretty equally here as we go through it. So we're going to talk about some tools here. We're going to get in that, and then I'm going to turn over to Tyler here in a second. Thing in orders, these things that we're going to go through are available to you. So comparison chart, we'll talk about that here in a second. And obviously the website, right? Plot data is on there, online product catalog with tech sheets, all that stuff is on there. Comparison chart, I think that was one of the first in the industry when we built that would have everything, and we keep adding to it. Like this year, there's stuff going to be added to it with some new traits that are hitting the marketplace, but something that has everything in place that has the check mark. So why don't we go ahead to that comparison chart and we can show everybody that. If you have not seen this, again, it's in the product guide. It's kind of all over. It's on the website. Again, the key to remember with this is this can be available to you. We've got if you want this printed in banner size printing, like 3 feet wide by 4 feet long, we can do that. I think this would be a great tool to have in your shop or in your office in a large scale, so it's easy to read. But again, as you see across the top, it'll puts everything in there as far as, very first, what herbicide tolerances are there, then what insects do we control and how many modes of action do we have. So if I look at Smart Stacks and if I want to look at fall armyworm, okay, I have 3 modes of action to protect me on fall armyworm. Okay. European corn borer, same deal. If I look down to Durastat, okay, I have 1 check mark there, but I have 3 for corn rootworm, where Smart Stacks only has 2. So again, this is what we're going to break into. I'm not going to steal thunder because Tyler's going to break this out a little bit more, but a great resource. And again, that is the key, a great resource to have. If you're on a farm or making a farm call, okay, how am I truly comparing apples to apples? And two, what are my main pests that I need the protection against, and what gives me the highest level of protection against that. So Tyler, I'm going to kick it over to you as you break these down. But Tyler will go through here as we kind of break this down a little bit.
Yep. So this comparison chart is something that I use daily. You know, my page is about worn out. It's on page 22 in your product guide. Everybody should know where it's at because a lot of these farmers, they can hear you talk and talk all the time, but until you actually show them where the check marks are, what it actually covers, then things start clicking in their head. And like we showed you before on that other slide, you know, that's the above and below ground traits. That's our full package. Yeah, that page right there, you know, it's really handy to see exactly what you're going after. And then on the next page, we have the chunk that has just our above ground. So whenever anybody talks about, you know, does this trait have what I'm looking for? All of these have their own specific roles that we play. You know, some of them are a little bit better on different worms than the other ones. So that's where this chart really comes in handy to look at and see exactly what you're going after. And then the next page would be just our roundups and then the conventional, of course. There's no traits on those, but we'll break these down a little bit farther on the next page. So we're going to go into Bayer traits here on the corn. The above and below, we've got our Smart Stack Pros, we got our Smart Stacks, and our BT4 Pros. Of course, the Smart Stacks has the two BT technologies. You know, the Smart Stack Pro, that adds in that RNA technology. So that gets you your third mode of action below ground. And then the BT4, you get three modes above ground plus the RNA technology underneath. And then the above ground, you know, you got our double pros, you got the Triceptives, you got the drought guards, you know, it's just a little bit for everybody there. And then the Roundup Ready is just what it is. It's Roundup Ready. It doesn't have any traits in it at all. Next slide would be the soybeans. So on the Bayer side, we have XtendFlex. And XtendFlex, of course, everybody knows that it's kind of been a hot topic in the last 5 years, but XtendFlex, we've still got it around. It's got three modes of action. Of course, the dicamba, the glufosinate, and the glyphosate. And then what's coming down in the pipeline is Viconic. You know, and that's going to be kind of, I think, kind of a more roundabout trait that's out there for guys that are having troubles controlling their weeds. You know, it's got five modes of actions. So not only do you have the dicamba, the glufosinate, you get the 2,4-D, you get the mesotrione in there. You know, it just kind of opens it up for more of modes of actions to try and control those weeds in our soybeans. And then we got the Syngenta trait. So it's Syngenta, they came out with Durastack as new this year, and Durastack is below ground, and Viptera, of course, is above ground. So we got the Durastack and we got the Durastack Viptera. You know, the Durastack, that adds in an extra BT protein that the Duracade doesn't have. So we in that group, we've also got the Duracade and the Duracade Viptera. You know, they've been around for a while now, but we will be coming into the Durastack and Durastack Vipteras. So that'll be kind of nice to have some more. Like Resler said before, you know, there's about 30 different traits that we can be picking from. So we just keep adding more and putting more in our arsenal for fighting these worms. And then on the Syngenta side, just above ground, you know, they got a plethora of stuff there. The Agrishures, most of it's the Vipteras. We got the Artesians in there, the 3010s. You know, that's where we go back to that comparison chart and really see what we're actually fighting and what we actually need out there. And then on the Syngenta tried for the no insect protection, they have their GT and GTA. You know, that's just Roundup Ready, and then Roundup Ready with the Artesian gene in it too. So then we have the Corteva, and then the Corteva and MS Tech corn. So above and below ground, we got the Vorseed. And the Vorseed's kind of cool. It's got three modes of action above ground. It's got three modes of action below ground. It also has that RNA technology in there too. Of course, the Chrome, that has your two helix traits in it. So those cover quite a few things. Like I said, go back to your comparison chart. You can see exactly what it covers, where it's lacking, and see if that's that's the route that you want to go, or if you want to go back to Smart Stack Pro. You know, the choice is really up to yours. We cover everything. when we say that we've got a full platform, we actually have a full platform. We can choose from anything that we want. So it's really nice to have that. And then on the above ground, we get into the power cores, we get into Acre Max, we get into Acre Max Lip Terrace. It's just like I said, you go back to your comparison chart, you see where we need to actually look at to see what we're fighting. And we've got pretty much anything under the sun that you can fight whatever you want with here. And we've got all platforms to choose from. So it's really nice for that. We'll go into the corn and soybean trait. So on the corn, they do offer the G, the Roundup Ready, and the conventional lineup for the impact corn. That's another platform that we brought on this year. It's got kind of the Stein genetics, but it looks like that's going to be a good fit. It's maybe a little on the cheaper side, but the corn looks good. We got some good data out there. It's just another tool in our tool belt to go out to the guys to the farm and try to get those sales. And the soybeans, they have their 3 modes of actions. Instead of the dicamba, like on the Extend Flex, we go into the Enlist, and then of course the glufosinate and the glyphosate there too. So then we also have our conventional products. We sell quite a bit of conventional products in Legend here, and we have that in silage corn. We have that regular corn. We also have conventional beans along with high protein beans that we sell too. So that's just kind of going back to, we've got the full gamut. We got platforms for everybody that's out there. And then of course we have additional crops. We can't forget we've got a full portfolio out there, guys. So we also sell sunflower. They're New Farm Genetics. You got High Lakes, New Sun, Con Oil, Confections. We've got alfalfa that is Roundup Ready and conventional. We got canola. We got sorghum. Grain sorghum, forage sorghum, Sudan grass, cover crops. Like I said, we have a full platform here, so we've got something for everybody. It's kind of nice. Next slide, we'll get into where do our genetics come from. Resler kind of already touched on this a little bit. We've got our genetic suppliers that we go and sit in. They take the genetics from the big guys, the Corn States, the Syngenta, the Corteva, MS Technologies. They're doing their own crossings there. Like you said, there's literally thousands of different crosses that we go out and look at when we're looking for the phenotypes, what everything looks at like, and like you said, we go back to the yield. We want to make sure that the yield is there. And then we kind of look at how everything's holding up. Is it going to hold up for our areas? And like you said, it's really kind of cool that we actually get to go out and pick what we want for our areas. We're really breaking this down so that we have something for everybody. What's going to work in South Dakota? What's going to work in Wisconsin? Is there a hybrid or variety out there that's going to work across everything? So it's kind of nice having that full platform that we can go across and pick from, just so that we have something for everybody out there. But yeah, that's what we kind of do for that. So in the summary, like I said, we have a full portfolio. We have grain crops to cover crops out there. We've got fully traded, we've got conventional, we got the bean side, we've got the sunflower, we got canola, literally got everything out there. We have our LSA group that goes out and hand picks these varieties for us. So when we're asking for you guys, LEMs and dealers, and everybody else that's out there, what are we looking for? That's where we really need you guys to actually tell us what you're looking for. Because if we don't know, we're not going to be able to pick the right stuff for you later on. And that's really important. It really does take about 2 years to bring a product forward from when the genetic suppliers kind of show us to when it actually comes into our lineup. We want to take what we're looking at, get it out there in our test plots and our experimental seed, make sure that it's going to stand up to our weather, our environments, our soils, and make sure it's going to be a proven variety that actually works for us. And like I said, we've got the stack portfolio. We've got about 30 different traits out there on the corn side alone. Plus, we've got the soybean traits, everything that's coming down in the pipeline. And like I said, the best tool for everybody is that comparison chart, that page 22 in the product guide. Like I said, mine is almost worn out. I was actually going to take a page out of a new product book just so I could laminate it because I use it all the time. I show guys exactly what we're looking for, the difference between them, because some people just don't understand that there is different traits out there that that are catered specifically for different bugs or for different areas. So that's really something that everybody should have handy every time they go out and talk to a farmer. And then of course, you know, lean on us agronomists, ask for help. If you have any questions, go ahead and give us a call. We're always here to answer any questions that you've got. You know, we do a lots of looking at these traits, varieties. We go over them several times. You know, we put a lot of time and effort to pick the traits that we need for you guys. So if you ever have any questions, just give us a holler and we're here to help you out.
Tyler, I'm just gonna add a couple things here quick. So
Yep.
one thing to remember, guys and gals, so like, if we go back 2 slides there to talking about some of the trait and genetic providers there. So the real cool thing is, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Of when we pick products, and sometimes we can get, like in the past, we've had, I think, up to 495-day products, 3 for sure, right? And people will ask, well, why so many, right? Well, this one was a double pro, this one was a power core, this one had this trait, or this one was for over here, this one was for over there. So it can get muddy sometimes, but the cool thing about us being Legend Seeds and trying to truly bring what you guys and gals in the countryside need is that we can be a little more nimble or nichey than the nationals, right? Like the best way I had to explain to me when I first came to Legend 14 years ago, my question was, I was selling the national brands and the retail side. I'm like, wow, okay, so Legend Seeds, what do you get the leftovers, right? Everybody's heard this, right? Oh, you get the leftovers or you get to pick last. We're at the table at the same time as everybody else. The cool thing is like, if you look, and this again, obviously it's working for the DeKalbs, the Pioneers, the Nationals, right? It's not like that they're doing bad. But like when you look at what they're going to produce, their stipulations are, one, does it fit a wide geography? And when I say wide geography, what does it fit all the way through the I states of the Corn Belt? If it's a 100-day product or 105-day product, does it fit from wherever 105-day corn is sold east to west? Does it fit there, right? And is the producibility, can I scale this up and produce a lot of it? And when I say a lot of it, their minimum a lot of times are 100,000 units, especially in those main areas of corn, maturities. So their stipulation, can I, and does it fit east to west? It might be better in the east or central, but it fit east to west good enough where I can put it across all that. We a lot of times will find products that are, like I said, a little more nichey, and maybe it doesn't produce as well. Maybe it just has some little thing that they don't like. Not always. I'm just saying that for an example, because this is not the case always. But there's a lot of times like, well, this product was 5 bushel better than that one. Yeah, but it only works in this area, right? And they can't sell 100,000 units of it, but we could sell 3, 4, 5,000 units of it and have it in that for that area, right? So that's how we look at it and say, okay, we can find, those are the things that we're looking for. Can we snip them out as an agronomy team and selection team, find them, bring to you? And that's why you might say like, okay, well, we got this was over here, this is over here. We have 3 of that maturity, right? But they're a little more and hone them in. Okay. The second part is when you look at all the traits and all the different things we have, I can say this with almost 99% confidence. We have more genetic trait diversity in our portfolio due to our multi-brand strategy and just the way we do selection and that because everything is available to us. Every provider, every genetic and trait provider are available to us. The genetic and trait diversity in different combinations we have is probably unmatched in the industry, and that's nationals or independents, right? The hard where it becomes tricky is funneling through and understanding two things, and you can put yourself in two shoes. If I am the seller or if I'm the buyer, but this question goes to what to ask, right? Selling, what questions do I need to ask to fully understand their operation as far as rotation, what diseases have been issues, what pests have been issues, and what products are going to help those or help, mitigate those issues going forward, that customer. If I'm the customer, on the flip side, I might need to ask, hey, what does this trait cover? These are my pests. What trait best covers that? And then look at everything that fits into whether it's your budget and your cost per acre, but then also checking the boxes as far as those traits. And again, to help mitigate the stress or mitigate those issues that you may have in the future or have had in the past and don't want to have in the future, right? So again, sometimes it happens out there. I'm not saying that we're immune to it, but people might, it's easy to say, somebody will ask, well, does it cover this? It's easy to say, oh, yeah, it's covered, right? And it's not. In our competition, Jake and I, we've all been on farms where somebody said, oh, yeah, this trait covers that, and it doesn't. And if that's an issue, if that pass was an issue for them and it doesn't cover it, now all of a sudden we have a major issue and we don't want to get caught into that trap, right? So again, studying that comparison chart like Tyler talked, I mean, that thing is just, key or paramount to going through that. Okay, where's the pass? Where's the check boxes? And if there's something missing or you haven't seen, then you just got to call one of the agronomists and ask or dial into Legend and get an answer on that. So again, the tools are there, but it's all about asking questions and asking those exploratory questions around the sales call, or if somebody's selling to you, so you make sure you get the right product that's going to take care of what's ailing you a little bit there. So no, Tyler, awesome job. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. We try not to get too in depth where it's too over the top and high tech on this morning. Again, if all these resources are available online, go to our website, go to legendseeds.com, right? The comparison charts there, plot data is there. If you go to local data, click on there, the map should pull up. Same on the YMS website for any local side-by-side plot data. It's all on there. So also, number one, if you have questions, get a hold of your LM, get a hold of your LSA, utilize everybody that's there. I mean, we're here to help you guys and out the field and to your success. Happy Monday morning. Be safe as always. Travel safe and you're able to make it on this morning. And have a great week, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.